Hi, welcome to the Recovery Daily podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Abasti, and I'm a grateful recovering alcoholic and stroke survivor. And I'm just trying to point the microphone at me. I don't know if it makes a difference, but I just looked over after I hit record and it's like pointing in the other direction. So hello, welcome. I wanted to first provide a reminder. We're 1 week into June, and I wanted to provide a reminder of the June book of the month for Reads and Recovery. It's our book club for the Recovery Daily podcast. If you aren't aware, there is a web page on my website, Recovery Daily Podcast, that talks all about reads and recovery. So if you go to recoverydailypodcast.com and click on the tab, the menu option that says reads, it will provide you all the information about our book club. So June's book is called Drop the Rock, Removing Character Defects, Steps 6 and 7. If you are not in sobriety, I still recommend reading it. It is a practical guide to letting go of character defects and how these character defects get in the way of true and joyful recovery, true and joyful life if you are not in recovery. Resentment, fear, self-pity, intolerance, anger. As Bill P. explains it, these are the rocks that can sink recovery or at least block further progress. So based on the principles behind steps 6 and 7, Drop the Rock combines personal stories, practical advice, and powerful insights to help listeners move forward in recovery. Little side note, I like my side notes. If you are in Alcoholics Anonymous, quite often the months of the year go with the steps. So going to meetings in June, we hear a lot about step 6. So this is just a really good book for people who are doing step 6. I always recommend it to anybody starting step 6 because there's not a lot of information in the big book and in our literature about steps 6 and 7. So Drop the Rock is another piece of supporting literature that you can benefit from. And then June's listener challenge is the Healthy Habits Challenge. So what we're doing is adopting a new healthy habit for 30 days. I've had several people reach out to me and let me know what their healthy habit is. I have one listener who is trying to go to bed at 10:30, and she said that she, out of the first 3 days, she was only able to do it once, and she was trying to decide, should I give up or should I keep trying? I said, one time is better than none. Keep going, keep going. So I know you're listening because you are one of my loyal listeners. So keep going. It doesn't matter. I think that's the important thing about the Healthy Habit Challenge is if we don't do it for a day or we don't do it for a week, the thing about healthy habits is that if you just do it once, you're doing something healthy from yourself. It's not a failure if it doesn't become a habit. It's a success because you did something healthy for yourself. So think of it that way. The point is not to beat yourself up if you do not do it every day for 30 days. The point is to do healthy things more often. So this could be drinking more water, incorporating a daily walk, reducing screen time. I'll run through the list that I provided again, just to give you some ideas. If you haven't picked one yet, it's not too late to start building a habit this month. Mindful eating, incorporating a 10-minute stretch routine in the morning or evening, reducing your sugar intake. Again, that is not for me, but if you are interested, I hear it's really healthy. I have a Coke right here next to me, and I have some Skittles over there on the counter. I have given up too much in my life. I get one handful of Skittles a day. So keeps the doctor away. Not really. Okay, so read for 30 minutes a day. That's mine. And digital detox, drink more water. I mentioned that one. Sleep hygiene. So like my loyal listener that I mentioned, come up with some consistent sleep schedule, or even just a relaxing bedtime routine that will improve sleep quality, improve your ability to go to sleep and enter into a sleep in a quicker, more relaxing way. And an all-time favorite, incorporate one plant-based meal a day. So give it a try, even if you're doing all the other ones or another one. Okay. So that's enough about the what do we call that? I don't know what you call that. I'm totally at a loss for a words. The side stuff for the episode. I don't know what I'm talking about. So let's get into not the topic of the day quite yet. I wanted to mention how my day went. So I talked 2 days ago about giving up and knowing when to say when. So I wanted to touch base on what's going on with that. I did go to therapy yesterday, to vestibular therapy. I had a long talk with my vestibular therapist about I'm not feeling like my symptoms are getting any better. I just feel as though I am better able to navigate life with the symptoms that I have, which is a good thing. You know, that is valuable. I feel more comfortable doing more things, but I still have these same limitations. I just know when to stop sooner. I know what I feel in my head that says, you got to stop, you got to rest. Before I went to vestibular therapy, I was pushing myself. If I'm on a scale of 1 to 10, I was pushing myself to about an 8 before I would stop. So now I know to not go above a 5. Do I do it every time? No, because I'm a glutton for punishment. But I'm still contemplating if I'm going to pause therapy. I'm not quite sure. It's been changing each day what I decide I'm going to do. So I'm just going to keep thinking on it. Maybe I'll pray about it. I don't know. That's not historically something that I do in my life. As far as praying for an answer or a decision or show me the way. I don't know how to do that or what it is that I think is going to happen if I pray. But what I do know is in my program of sobriety that when I just act as if, usually things start working out the way that I didn't know they could. So I'm just going to do it, act as if I know what I'm praying for and what might happen, and we'll see what happens. You know, that's the best way for me to navigate my life and this whole spiritual and higher power thing. So, and then on a final note, before we get to the topic of the day, I wanted to share with you what happened today. So, today was the big recovery picnic for my area, and I couldn't go for several reasons. I can't, several reasons, meaning there are several activities about it that would massively trigger my symptoms. So the car ride there was about 40 minutes, so I wouldn't be able to deal with that. And then all the people at the picnic and I guess that's it. I guess there's two. I mean, I think of there's a lot because I think of, well, I would have wanted to play volleyball. I would have wanted to do this and that. And I was thinking this more, over the past few days because I really wanted to go. And I was thinking about how all of these things I can't do, right? I was getting into that unhealthy mindset that I'm like, well, okay, there's a picnic. I can't ride in the car. I can't sit in a pavilion with a bunch of people. I can't sit at a picnic table with a bunch of people because I have to like look at all the people and stuff. I can't play badminton. I can't do, that's what I started doing. So I went to my 7 a.m. meeting this morning and I shared that I wish I could go to the picnic. I hope everybody else has fun at the picnic. I have decided, because when I woke up this morning, I made a decision, because I do that every morning. I made a decision that I was going to celebrate the day myself in the ways that I can. So I decided I was going to put my chubby little bulldog in the baby pool, and that I was going to walk my beautiful Weimaraner and this and that. I was going to like grill a burger, a vegan burger. And so I started making a list in my head of all of these great things that I can do. That's how I started my day. Well, I shared that in the meeting this morning, and it turned out like right after my meeting, my sponsor reached out to me and asked if I would be interested in her coming over, and we could either go to lunch or we could take a walk or we could just visit with each other. I'm not feeling well enough to go to a restaurant, so I said, I would love to do that. I would love to take a walk. Now, granted, you guys know my walk is around the block. And we went a bit further. We went pretty far actually today, further than I probably should have. But I felt safer because she was with me. But it did trigger my symptoms, and I felt pretty bad the rest of today, but I'm still functioning. I'm just really dizzy. Really feel bad, you know what I mean? But I'm getting so used to feeling bad that I just live that way, and that's not good. Anyway, but I really, really enjoyed the visit. I mean, I really enjoyed the visit. After we walked, we came back home. We talked about Korean cooking. We talked about vegan cooking. We talked about Persian cooking. And then we shifted our conversation over to, I was updating her on all of my medical hoo-has and all the doctor's appointments and the latest conversations. And I don't think I've totally updated you guys about the whole mini stroke thing in the cerebellum and how I don't want to get into it, but there's nothing new has happened. It's just like different avenues to look into. That's all. Um, anyway, I talked to her about that. We talked about chiropractors, and we traded experiences with chiropractor and what helps both of us. So, and then she gave me something to order on Amazon that's going to help with my neck and um, my neck, really, and my TMJ. So that was really lovely. And then right when she was getting ready to leave, my phone rang, and it was another woman in my recovery program, and she was calling to put her cell phone on the speaker podium at the picnic so I could listen to the speaker. And I will just tell you, people, that I was crying, and I was not crying because of what the speaker was talking about. The speaker was great. The speaker was awesome. I was crying because of the love that I received today. Because I woke up this morning, I made a decision that I was going to surface joy. I made a decision that I was going to accept my situation and surface joy, find ways to be happy today, to enjoy the things that I can do. And I shared about it, and then the gifts came, right? And look, I have my evidence bag still sitting here, and I think that that's going to go in there because it was because I made a decision to surface joy, to seek happiness, that I found it and received it. If I had woken up in the morning and I decided to not go to my meeting, I decided to be grumpy, I could have gone to my meeting and expressed all my self-pity. And possibly I would have still gotten those offers to have my sponsor come hang out with me and listen to the speaker. But I bet you I would have mentally, I wouldn't have approached it in a positive way. I would have been approaching it in a completely different manner, that would not allow me to be so grateful for the gifts that I was given today. So if the two of you, my sponsor and my other young woman who called me into the speaker meeting, if you're listening, I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. It is people like you that keep me feeling hopeful and happy, and that's all about being of service, and it's just you not only helped me through the day, but you planted another flower that can bloom inside of me as I continue to try to figure out how to live with this disability. So you've given me fuel, and I couldn't be more grateful for it. Okay, now we're going to talk about the subject of the day. And that is communication, or rather, lack of it. So I know that you can relate to this. I know you can, because I'm not unique. How often have you said or heard, we should talk more, or I should call you more, or sorry, I've been so out of touch, I've been busy, or life's just been so busy? So these phrases are ever so common. And sorry, I need to take a drink of my Coke. Okay, sorry. So, have you ever stopped to actually think about how unhealthy it is for us to say this? That's what I'm going to talk about. And the reason why I'm going to talk about it, because I'm interested in how I can be better, how I can improve that, why I shouldn't say those kinds of things, and how I can turn those kinds of comments into action. Okay? So, true fact, life is busy, right? We juggle work, family, personal commitments, and we also, with those in recovery, are also inserting this sobriety, stroke recovery, vestibular disorder recovery, the communities that we get involved with in recovery. And that just adds another layer of managing relationships, managing our recovery, our physical health, our mental health, and feeling that desire to support the collective group as well as individuals in the group. Like, all of that is over freaking whelming. And I feel like we just keep adding to it. So of course we're too busy, but by using busyness as an excuse to not communicate with the people around us, our loved ones, we can easily strain our relationships. So when we repeatedly tell our loved ones that we should talk more, but we fail to follow through, I am totally guilty of this. It can lead to feelings of neglect and disappointment. So over time, these unfulfilled promises can erode trust and create emotional distance. So why are these excuses so unhealthy? Well, I pretty much just told you, but it also creates a cycle of guilt and avoidance. And all of this just resonates so deeply with me. As I've entered into recovery, I've actually gotten better. And one way that I've done it, and I will go into some strategies in a minute, but one way that I've done it is picking up the phone. I have this one commitment: call one person a day. I don't have a commitment to call a specific person on a specific day. It's call one person a day. Because honestly, I don't know that I have that many people to call every week. But what I end up doing is calling more people than I would normally talk to during a week. I start running out of people, so I start calling some people that I wouldn't normally reach out to. And I'm really glad that I did, you know? So we feel, so going back, I'm jumping ahead of myself. So we feel guilty. This is the cycle of guilt and avoidance. We feel guilty for not reaching out. So to alleviate the guilt, we say, oh, we should really talk more, you know? Or we actually start saying, oh, how about I'll call you next week? Okay. I've had so many people say this to me. I'll call you next week, and they don't call. And I'm not pointing fingers. I'm saying that is the kind of thing that's normal, that we do now, that's normal. And I've done it. I mean, I countless times I've said, I'll call you tomorrow. There's a new friend that I made in my sewing class, and I told her last Tuesday, let's see, what day are we at? No, this past Tuesday, I said, I'll call you on Thursday. Did I call her? No, I didn't call. I forgot, or else I thought of it and I was busy doing something else and then I forgot. I'm not quite sure, but I didn't call her when I said I was going to call her. And I actually want to be her friend. So, yeah, it's how am I going to make a friend if I make empty promises, you know? So when we don't fulfill those promises, then the guilt intensifies again. And the more that guilt starts intensifying, then we start avoiding contact altogether because we don't want to have to um, apologize, make amends. I don't know. And then we just start trying to escape that uncomfortable feeling altogether. Just avoid it, you know. I'll deal with it later. I'll deal with it when they call me or something. And this kind of cycle of guilt and avoidance is detrimental to not only the health of our relationships, but it's also very unhealthy for us. It's this added stress. And these small little, what we call ankle biters, are, if you add enough ankle biters to your life, you have a lot of stress. But we tend to be able to just let those ankle biters keep nipping, and we can just keep shaking them off, just keep kicking our feet, shaking it off. But eventually, I just think of them as just a pool of piranhas, because eventually they just eat us alive, you know? Sorry, that's a very morbid comparison. So how do we break the cycle and ensure that we maintain regular, meaningful contact with those that we love without making those empty promises or putting unreasonable pressure on ourselves? I wanted to know this, so I did some research, and here are some strategies. Let's go. So, being honest and realistic, instead of making vague promises like we should talk more, let's be honest about our availability. So we can say something like, I'd love to catch up. Things are hectic right now. How about we set a specific time next week, right? Okay, I already tried that strategy this week and I said, I'll call you on Tuesday. I even added it to my calendar and I still didn't call. So, progress, not perfection. Remember that as you try to implement these strategies. Failure is an option. You just have to get back up again if you fall down. That's what matters. So be realistic about your commitments and prevent setting yourself up for failure. If you just say, I'm going to call you next week, it's more difficult to remember to do that if you're somebody like me who tries to just pack as much stuff as possible and not write any of it down. I mean, I write everything down, but some people don't. And so we can, by being more specific and realistic, we can give ourselves more of an opportunity to be successful. And we help manage the other person's expectations as well. So it depends on what kind of personality you're dealing with. If you're dealing with somebody who is going to pop a top, like I said yesterday, if you don't call, then it's vital that you are specific about when you're going to call, because it's just easier to be successful that way. If you are dealing with somebody who's kind of like, yeah, let's play by ear, let's just see what happens, then, you know, it's not as, I hate to say it, like, I was going to say it's not as damaging, but honestly, it is. It's just as unhealthy for that relationship as well, especially if it's done repeatedly. So, okay. I actually, what was just crossing my mind is that tomorrow my niece is coming over to go to the pool. We're going to go to the pool, which is one of my favorite things to do. And so I had another friend ask if the one that I made the curtains for, that I hemmed the curtains for and made all of the stuff with the leftover curtain material, she's coming over to pick up her curtains and all the presents I made for her. And she said, you know, can I come over tomorrow? I said, I'm going to the pool with my niece. Anyway, she said, let's play it by ear, because I didn't want to be at the pool when she came by. Playing it by ear is fantastic. It is fine to play it by ear as long as you are both agreed, you know, both people don't have a problem with playing things by ear. There are some people who have to plan. They have to plan, you know. Okay. Next, schedule regular check-ins. So life is busy, but we can prioritize what's important to us, and we forget what's important. Period. We forget what's important. If we schedule regular check-ins with our loved ones, we are more likely to make more of them, you know, like you would any other appointment. If you had a dentist appointment, you wouldn't just blow it off and miss it. And that is just as important, if not, this is more important, to talk to the people that we love and that we care about, not only for ourselves, but for them. So it could be a weekly phone call or a monthly coffee date, or even just a quick text every few days. My sister calls me once a week. Um, I've noticed it. My old boss, he was calling me once a week, but that that's dropped off a bit. Now it's becoming, I think, more like once a month, which is fine. Because I think we both just kind of go with the flow a little bit. But I have tried to start sending texts to people when I think of them. Just when they cross my mind, I send a text and say, just thinking about you, hope all is well, love you, or whatever. And that's been really nice too. So in recovery, I have more time to do that kind of stuff. I have more downtime where my brain is able to think of stuff like that. I didn't have that kind of downtime when I was working. I didn't create that kind of downtime, and I could have. I didn't prioritize communication with loved ones. And then of course, putting it on your calendar can help to ensure that it happens. Quality over quantity. It's not about how often you talk, but the quality of your conversations. Do you ever have a friend where you don't talk very much, you talk rarely, but when you do, it's like no time has passed? I have a lot of those. I have a lot of friends like that. Um, there's nothing wrong with that as long as you're both happy and you're both okay with it. I had one friend in sobriety who called me, um, and we really hadn't talked in a while, just the two of us. And she called, and it was like we talked every day. Like it was like we didn't skip a beat, you know? So what allows that to happen is when you do connect with people, make sure that you're present and you're actively listening and you're fully engaged. And it shows that person that they have your undivided attention and that you value your time together. Um, if you have somebody that you rarely talk to, and then when you do talk to them, they are not present, that's probably a signal that you're not going to talk to them again for a really long time, and you're not really going to want to. And I don't want somebody to feel that way about me. So again, now that I'm not working, I'm able to recognize the importance of being present. I remember being on phone calls with people and trying to do work at the same time. And I remember people saying, they could tell that I wasn't actively listening, and that makes me sad, but the best thing I can do is do better at it now. Um, use technology wisely. There's so many tools now. Text, email, social media. We even have FaceTime. If you use these tools to bridge the gap, it might nurture the relationship, you know, in the time before you get to meet one-on-one again. A simple message can mean a lot. Just like I was saying, like when somebody crosses my mind, I just send them a message, and I get lots of those. I had another person in my sobriety program this evening, who just checked on me and said, "How are you doing today?" And that meant a lot. It means a lot to me that somebody is thinking about me. And I want to I want to extend the same love to other people. I want other people to know that they are being thought of as well. Express your feelings. So if you feel overwhelmed and find it hard to keep in touch, express that. Communication is freaking key. I feel so passionate about communication. I did at my last job too. I created a whole freaking communication plan for the company because I just couldn't I couldn't bear not helping improve it, you know? So share your feelings, and that can foster understanding and support in relationships. They may not realize how much you have on your plate. And if you tell them, they can probably offer empathy, or maybe that means that you need them to listen. Do you have so much on your plate that you don't have time to meet with somebody? That's probably even more reason to try to connect. My mom and I both suck at picking up the phone and calling. We just do. And we have this understanding of each other, and we both say it to each other all the time, like, and we want to keep trying to get better. It's almost like, we love each other unconditionally and deeply, and we just keep working at that all the time. Um, so remember though that relationships are two-way streets. So if you're always the one who's reaching out and not getting the same in return, it's okay to acknowledge that and have a conversation about it. If you have a friend who you're calling, once a week, and you just feel like, once in a while I'd like this person to call me, you can gently say that. You can find the right words to say that. But communication takes that kind of mutual respect and effort to make it, I don't know what the word is, I guess, to nurture the relationship, to make it give and take. I think that's what I was thinking of. So you can communicate where you feel somebody else is lacking in your relationship. But remember what I talked about yesterday, I, and not you, because it keeps it focused on sharing your feelings and not introducing any blame into the conversation. So in recovery, in my sobriety program, and even in stroke recovery, I have learned the importance of maintaining connections and building a support system. My support groups are invaluable to me, and they validate my feelings. When I know that somebody else has the same symptoms as me or the same struggles as me, has the same feelings about, not wanting to go to therapy. Like, I'm going to go into my vestibular support group on Tuesday, go in, meaning virtually, and I'm going to share with them what I'm contemplating and see what they say. I want to know who has dealt with this kind of, like, going to therapy for 3 months and you don't feel any different, and see what they say, and by approaching communication with honesty and openness and care, I think we can nurture our relationships and ensure that loved ones feel valued and appreciated, even though we may not communicate as often as other people would, you know? So the next time you catch yourself saying, we should talk more, pause and think about how you can actually turn that into a meaningful action rather than an empty promise. Your relationships and your mental health will thank you for it. And that is why we are here, right? To just continue to find ways to subside the craziness. That's why I'm here, to try to invite serenity and subside the craziness. So I think I learned a lot about how I might be able to get better at this. So thank you also for tuning in to today's episode of Recovery Daily Podcast. And if you found this episode helpful, I know I say this all the time, but please share it, even if it's just going onto Facebook or Instagram and just being like, hey, I heard this podcast today and I thought it was good, and share the link. I would love it if I saw a couple more people listening, but I have like doubled my my audience in the past 2 weeks. It has doubled. So that's pretty exciting. So thank you all for listening. You do a lot for my recovery, and I hope that I'm contributing to yours. I will talk to you tomorrow.